You keep waiting for the moment it feels different. The moment you check your phone and something inside you goes, there it is, you made it. But that moment doesn't come the way you pictured it. No trumpet, no screenshot you send to anyone. Getting rich, the real kind, the kind that survives a bad year, doesn't look like a lottery ticket. It looks like 6 ordinary Tuesdays that happened to go a certain way. And most people building it don't recognize what's happening until years in, because nothing about it feels like winning. It just feels like Wednesday. Here's how to tell if it's already happening to you. Sign 1. You've automated a decision so you don't have to keep making it. The raise lands in your inbox on a Thursday, 3.5%, effective the 1st of next month. You do the math waiting for your coffee, about $2,100 a year, roughly $175 a month before the IRS takes its cut. Call it $130 after taxes. Your coworker Marcus gets a similar bump and mentions at lunch he's already found a new place. A 1-bedroom in a nicer part of Chicago, gym in the building, $340 more a month than what he's paying now. You nod. You've done that math before, back when you were 26, and leased a nicer car 8 weeks after a promotion, then spent the next year feeling exactly as broke as before, just with better floor mats. So this time you do something that takes 6 minutes. You log into your 401k portal and bump your contribution up 1 percentage point. You don't feel it in your paycheck, not really. Maybe $60 a month, mostly offset by the raise itself. You close the tab. Nobody sees this happen. There's no post about it. Marcus talks about his new lease for the rest of the week. You listen. You're not judging him for wanting what he wants. You just noticed the fork in the road and quietly took the other one. Right now, the average American saves under 5% of take-home pay. Lifestyle expands to swallow whatever room a raise creates, almost on schedule, like it's contractual. You're saving closer to 15%, and you didn't get there through some dramatic budgeting overhaul. You got there by intercepting the raise before it had a chance to become your new normal. That's the whole mechanism. Not willpower in the moment. A decision made once, automated, and left alone. Sign 2, an unexpected $1,000 bill doesn't rearrange your week anymore. The email hits your inbox on a Tuesday. Your HVAC guy in Phoenix says the unit needs a new capacitor and a part he doesn't stock. Total, $890. You read it, standing in your kitchen, finish your coffee, and reply, "Sounds good, go ahead," before you've even sat down at your desk. 3 years ago, $890 was a different kind of email. You'd have opened your banking app and started doing the math with your eyes half closed. Which card had room, whether you could split it, whether it could wait until the next paycheck. Back then, an unplanned expense was a problem you had to manage. Now it's just a line item. You pay it from the account you built specifically so this wouldn't be a decision. Nearly 4 in 10 Americans can't cover a $1,000 emergency without borrowing or selling something. That's not because they're careless. It's because the gap between what comes in and what goes out never got wide enough to leave a cushion behind. When the surprise hits without a buffer, it stops being $890 and starts being $890, plus interest, plus 2 weeks of low-grade dread. You have 3 months of expenses sitting in a high-yield savings account with a boring name you barely think about, and that's exactly the point. It's not supposed to be exciting. It's supposed to sit there, inert, until the Tuesday you need it and then absorb the hit without ceremony. Sign 3, you've turned down something you could technically afford. The group chat lights up on a Sunday night. Your friend Ashley, getting married next spring, has locked in a bachelorette trip to Nashville. 4 nights, flights, a rented house split 6 ways, dinners, a distillery tour. The total lands at $1,350 per person. You read it twice. Not because you can't afford it, you can, easily. You're doing a different calculation now, one that runs automatically in the background. What does this $1,350 do if it goes somewhere else? And can you live with that answer? You make tea, you come back to it an hour later. The answer doesn't come back clean, so Monday morning you text Ashley separately, tell her you love her and you're so happy for her, but you're going to sit this one out. She sends back a heart. Nobody in the group chat mentions it again by Wednesday. You move that $1,350 into your Roth IRA instead. It takes 4 minutes on your phone. Nothing marks the moment. No applause, no notification worth screenshotting. This is what discipline actually feels like from the inside. Not deprivation, just a preference that's gotten sharper with repetition. You still wanted Nashville. You wanted the other thing more, and you knew it before the tea finished steeping. Wages nationally are up around 4% over the last year. On paper, everyone has a little more slack. In practice, most of that slack gets absorbed instantly, a slightly nicer version of the same life. The pause is what breaks that pattern. And in that pause, without announcing itself, something keeps accumulating. Sign 4, your money is earning money while you're asleep. 14 months ago, on a Sunday afternoon, you opened a brokerage account you'd been putting off for 2 years. 40 minutes of paperwork. You linked your checking account and scheduled a recurring transfer, $600 on the first of every month into a low-cost S&P 500 index fund. You didn't tell anyone. There was nothing to announce. You just closed your laptop and made lunch. Since then, you've checked it maybe a dozen times. Once when the market dropped 7% in a week last fall and your phone filled with panic headlines, you looked, closed the app, and let your $600 transfer go through on schedule like always. Once at 2 a.m. a few weeks ago when you couldn't sleep, opened it just to look, and noticed the balance was higher than the month before and the month before that, without you doing anything except not stopping. You've contributed $8,400 over 14 months. The balance is higher than $8,400. The difference, the part you didn't put in, is the market doing what markets have done for a century, compounding whether or not you're paying attention. The S&P 500 has averaged close to 10% annually, going back nearly 100 years. Nobody can promise that continues. But the long game has never actually required genius. It's required staying in when everything in you wanted out. Your co-worker Derek sold in the dip last fall. Not everything, but enough. And quietly bought back in 2 months later at a higher price than he sold. Run the math forward. $600 a month for 25 years at a conservative 7% comes out around $487,000. At the historical average closer to 10%, you're looking at something over $700,000. You will have contributed $180,000 of that yourself. The rest is time, doing the work you refuse to interrupt. Sign 5. You've started pricing your hours, not just your paycheck. A recruiter reaches out on a Thursday with an offer, $14,000 more a year, better title, an hour and 15 minutes each way from your place outside Denver. You don't say yes that afternoon. You don't say no either. You sit with it over dinner the way you've learned to sit with decisions now, without forcing an answer. By Friday morning, it's clear. You decline politely, no drama, and go back to your coffee. 3 years ago, $14,000 would have ended that conversation before it started. You'd have told yourself the commute was temporary. You'd have bought noise-canceling headphones for the train and called it a reasonable trade-off. Somewhere in the last 2 years, you started measuring differently. Not what a job pays, but what it costs. 2.5 hours a day currently belong to you. Those hours have a price, and you finally started charging for them. This shift doesn't show up on a bank statement, but it changes everything downstream. You pay someone $120 twice a month to clean your apartment now. Your friend Greg thinks that's wasteful. He cleans his own place and talks about the money he's saving by doing it. You don't argue. You just know what those 3 Sunday hours are worth to you, and it isn't $120. Sign 6. Your net worth is moving even on the weeks you don't feel it. You open the spreadsheet on a random Sunday in March. No particular reason. Coffee still brewing. You haven't touched it since November. Checking, $4,100. Savings, $9,800. Brokerage, $14,200. 401k, $26,600. Car loan remaining, $11,200. You do the subtraction, then pull up November's number and hold both figures in your head for a second, the way you'd compare 2 photos of the same street in different seasons. The difference is $16,300. No windfall, no bonus, nothing broke right in some dramatic way. You just did the same quiet things for 4 months and the number moved anyway. Roughly half of Americans couldn't tell you their net worth if you asked. Not because they don't care, but because nobody ever handed them the spreadsheet and said, start here. Income is the water coming in. Net worth is what's actually in the tank, and it's the only number that tells you the truth about direction. Your old roommate Jason earns more than you, meaningfully more, and mentioned last year he has no idea what he's worth on paper. He laughed when he said it, the way people laugh at things that quietly bother them. You check yours every few months, not obsessively, just enough to confirm the direction held. It always holds, because every decision from the last 2 years is sitting in that bottom line. The transfer that went through automatically, the repair bill that didn't spiral, the trip you skipped, the commute you turned down. None of it felt like progress while it was happening. Each one felt like an ordinary decision on an ordinary day, because that's exactly what it was. This week, something routine will happen. A purchase will almost happen and then won't. Notice that pause, the half second between wanting something and doing something about it. That's not a small moment. That's the entire mechanism. That's where all 6 of these signs actually live. You won't feel richer tomorrow, but tomorrow the tank fills a little more anyway.